Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, is it possible for the Toronto Maple Leafs to make the playoffs this year? As the old saying goes, you can't make the playoffs in November, but you can certainly miss them. And I know the last two games have been absolutely amazing. Who would have known watching hockey could be that fun? And I don't want to be pessimistic with this video and kill the vibes that we're on. You know, we're riding the wave and we're going through the motions right now, but the numbers are pretty telling. And you know, as a journalism student myself, I was told there would be no math, and here we are about to do some. No, we gotta have confidence. We can do this. Numbers are our friends. So this is the NHL standings sorted by points percentage via natural stat trick. So right now, the important thing that we're going to be looking at is the points percentage. And what that is basically is the Maple Leafs have played 25 games so far, and in those 25 games, they had a total of 50 available points to them. And of those 50 available points, they captured 26 of them. So 26 divided by 50 would be 520. But we want to see if the Maple Leafs can make the playoffs here. So in order to do that, we need to look at the team who's currently holding the second wild card spot, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers. They have 27 points in 23 games. So another way of doing this is you can divide 27 points, the amount of points that they have, by the amount of games that they've played, 23, and it's going to give you this long number, hold on a second, 1.17, and then we're going to multiply that by 82 games in an entire season. So the Philadelphia Flyers are currently on pace for 96.2 points. Let's just be generous and round them up to 97. So that means right now the current pace to make the playoffs is 97 points. But if we come back over to our handy dandy calculator, we need to figure out how many points the Toronto Maple Leafs are currently on pace for. So if we plug in 26 points divided by 25 games played, we're going to get 1.04 times 82 games in the season. The Maple Leafs are currently on pace for 85.3 points, basically. So now the question is, how are the Maple Leafs going to cover the gap between the 85 points that they're on pace for and the 97 points that they theoretically need to make the playoffs? Well, the Maple Leafs have 57 games remaining in the season, so we need to figure out how many points they would need to capture in those 57 games, or what points percentage they need to be playing at in those 57 games in order to get to that theoretical 97-point threshold. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs already have 26 of the 97 theoretical points that they need to make the playoffs. So we're going to take the amount of points that they need to make the playoffs and subtract it by the amount of points that they have already. And this is going to give us the number of points that the Maple Leafs will need to capture in their remaining 57 games. 71. Things are getting a little bit more tense. So remember that number 71. We're going to come back to it very, very shortly. So if the Maple Leafs have 57 games remaining in the season, that would mean that there's an available 114 points for them to capture. So if we come back with that number 71, we're going to use that right now. So they need 71 more points in the 57 games, and they have an available 114 to them. So if we divide 71 by 114, this is going to give us the points percentage that the Maple Leafs need to play at in order to make the playoffs. So you saw that we got the number 622 or 623 if we round a little bit. What does that mean? What is that 623 number put into context? What is it? Because it's just a number right now on the calculator. Well, to help us put that into context, last year's Leafs finished the season with 100 points, or their points percentage was 100 divided by 164 available points, and an entire season was 609. The season before that, the Maple Leafs had 105 points, which I believe was like a franchise record. So if we take 105 and divide it by 164 available points in an entire season, their points percentage the year before was 640. And the general consensus coming into this year was that this year's team was better than the previous two. So can they play up to that theoretical 623 points percentage that they need in the remainder of this year? Yeah, of course they can. And I mean, if we need more context to see what a 623 points percentage actually looks like, we can just take a look at the NHL standings. Now, there's no teams exactly at 623, but there are the Dallas Stars and the Arizona Coyotes that are both at 625. And it's important for context here because the Dallas Stars started their season 1-7-1 and are currently on pace for 103 points. So my argument would be if the Dallas Stars can dig themselves out of a 1-7-1 start to the season and be on pace for 103 points right now, why can't the Maple Leafs come back from that previous 6-game skid? If the St. Louis Blues last year can sit dead last in the league in January and then go on to win the Stanley Cup, why can't this year's Maple Leafs do it? And I mean, if the last two games for Maple Leaf fans prove anything, it's that there's still hope left in this team. And the numbers are very much on their side, so it's not like we're asking the impossible or even the improbable. Maybe we're asking something that's a little bit unlikely, but it's still very much possible. And if I was a betting man, and if I were also the Toronto Maple Leafs, I would bet on the Toronto Maple Leafs, because the Toronto Maple Leafs always bet on the Toronto Maple Leafs. See how ridiculous that sounds, Babs? So remember to like the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, let's get out there and do that hockey.